Hello, my name is Sarah Sally Hamer, and I am going to talk to you today about conflict not being tension. Conflict is not tension, it's something completely different. So I write blogs for the amazing Edie Melson through the Right Conversation, and I posted a blog there today and wanted to give you a brief addition to it if you had the time and desire to listen to it. So if you've read the blog, you already know that conflict and tension play an almost equal part in how we write a story. So we want to back up a little bit, think a little bit deeper, and I want to talk to you about something very specific. You know, the entire story is based on conflict, right? That's all we hear about. Well, most people hear about. They see the idea about being able to live in the world of conflict. We set up the structure, set up the plot. Everything's about plot. Well, you can actually do plot pretty quickly. You can put plot into something very, very simple. Just he wants this, she wants to take it away, and they have a fight. But of course, that's a romance, but it doesn't matter. They're all basically the same. We have a character, a protagonist who wants something and is not able to get them for whatever reason. We call it goal motivation and conflict also, but conflict is one huge big part of that, obviously, since it's one of the three big things. So we need to talk about tension because tension is what drives the story. It's kind of like if you have an engine, and I say this in the blog, you have the engine in the car, which is your conflict, your structure, but you have to have gasoline and oil to make it run. That's the tension. So tension doesn't live in the outline. It doesn't live in the premise. It doesn't even live in that conflict. Instead, it lives in the moment. And I'm going to get there we go. Lives in the moment, in the breath of the story, in the beat between what a character wants and what happens next. And how do we do that? We create conflict first. Then we set up the tension to drive that car. And once you understand how tensions run through a single scene, you can build it up anywhere. It doesn't make any difference what version you're using or where it is in the story. It can be tension all the way through, but it also can be tension just in a paragraph if you need it to be there. So let's begin where tension actually lives, and that's in the details. So every conflict is a simple statement. In Stephen King's Misery, which I'm going to use that and the movie Up here in just a second, and there's one thing that's important to Paul. Paul Sheldon is his name. He's been in a terrible car accident. He is a writer. He has been writing books for years. He has lots of very, very successful writer. The problem is that he has killed his character. He's killed off the protagonist that has been be like killing Harry Potter. Of course, they did do that, but it'd be you have these stories that you love, and at the end, the character goes away. Sometimes it's because the author is tired of them. And in fact, I know someone, a pretty successful writer, he wrote 14 books about a particular attorney, mystery books. I just got sick of it. So he killed him. So I could see how this could work. Maybe he took it from Stephen King having that happen. But every story can have this type of a character who has a conflict. Paul's conflict is that Annie, one of his biggest fans, lives out in the middle of nowhere. Paul's car has run into a snowdrift and he's injured. She's a nurse. He has drugs. And she takes him home with her. So Paul wants to leave, Annie wants to keep him. In the movie Up, Carl, who is the old gentleman whose wife has died, one of the most beautiful, heart-warming, heartbreaking introductions into a movie I've ever watched. And in fact, I cry every time I watch it. His wife has died, and now he has made her a promise to take or to go to Paradise Falls. They're trying to harm him. They try to take his house away from him. Everything is just falling apart. And so he decides the best thing he can do is use his balloons because he was a balloon guy out in the park And he puts enough helium balloons together to take the house to Paradise Falls, someplace in South America, we assume. So that's what he wants. He wants to get the house to Paradise Falls to honor his wife who is dead. But the world keeps presenting reasons why it doesn't work, why he can't get there. So what we do is we have to set this up so that we know what's going to happen. So I've taken just a scene out of Misery, and it's about Paul and the pills. So we have the conflict. He needs those pills. And Annie gives them all he wants for his pain. Somehow or another, she seems to have gazillions of pills. So she's keeping him, keeping him happy, keeping him full of pills without any problem. He's injured. She's his caretaker, and she controls the medication. That's conflict, right? He needs them because he's in so much pain. But he also suspects, after a while, that she's trying to control him, especially when he starts telling her that he's not going to bring that character back, which is what she wants. She wants him to revive him and write more books about him. And Paul says, "Oh, I've killed him. He's done." And Annie says, "No, you're going to do what I tell you to." So conflict is the doorway, the setup into the tension. Now, I'm assuming that some of you have seen this movie. I'm assuming some of you have not. So it's not a huge big deal. I'm going to give you enough information to make it dangerous. So at least you know basically what's going on. But you'll have to watch the movie if you really want to see the depth of this. It's very well done. So the second thing is the offer. So Annie brings the pills. And she's all sweet and bright. But there's something wrong, and Paul knows it. And this is the first tightening of the screw. It's the first little tick of tension. Conflict hasn't changed, still exactly the same thing. He needs the pills, she's going to give them to him or not. She's controlling him through them. But the pressure, he has to have the pill because he's in so much pain. And tension often begins with some kind of a mismatch. The tone doesn't match the situation. And that's often the best way to do it. When we get to Up, we'll talk about how that one works too, because the smiles don't always match the eyes. So your reader feels the dissonance between the two characters, can tell, because you're going to put it in your words and convince them, your readers, that there's something going on. So the next thing is a hesitation. By now, by the time this scene hits, Paul knows that there's a problem. He knows he's in trouble. And so he looks at those pills and he tries to figure out, am I going to do that? Am I going to allow myself to be controlled by this woman and take those pills? And there's your tension. There's your tension being embodied, because we feel that tension. It makes me nervous just to think about it. The tightening in the chest, the shallow breaths, this awareness that something is wrong, and he just isn't really sure what it is. Why is she doing this to him? Is she crazy? Well, is she? So remember, hesitation is one of the most powerful tools that you as a writer have. Slow everything down for a minute and let your protagonist, let your characters think, because tension lives in that pause. Next is the choice. Well, is it that he swallows a pill or not? Actually, it's kind of like that red and blue pill in the Matrix. What it comes down to is he going to choose going farther into a hole that she has created for him? Or is he going to choose to appease the person who he is terrified of? And he has reason to be terrified. I'm not going to go into any more detail on that because you need to watch the movie or read the book. But every choice under pressure is shaping your character. It's making your character think about what they're going to do next. Well, there's a reason behind the thoughts, right? Remember, we have motivation. The character just doesn't do things. The character does things for a reason. And in a character arc, which is what supposedly we're all wanting in our books, it's at least at some level, In a character arc, we have to be really, really careful to put that in there and make it real. So the character is real, that every choice that's made makes a difference as to what's going to happen in the rest of the story. So tension becomes transformation. Then we have the aftermath. He's taken the pill. He didn't think he had a choice. He made the choice to do that. His pain eases, his thoughts blur. He realizes how much power she actually has. He can't get out of bed, especially after what she does to him. The conflict hasn't changed. That's all the same. It is still, he needs the pills. What's he going to do to get them? But now he's more trapped, and the tension is deeper. And this is the emotional math of tension. Every scene adds pressure. Every choice narrows the path. Every moment tightens the vice. And that's what makes us turn the page. So this is why it works. This is what King didn't do. He didn't add more conflict. Doesn't need it. It's still the exact same problem going on. He didn't introduce a new villain. Nobody else, nothing else go. He doesn't need to that either because he already has plenty of conflict. And he didn't escalate the plot. Instead, he stayed inside the moment and he asked, what does Paul want right now? What to leave, right? To get off out of that bed, get back in his car, and go back to his real life. What threatens that? Well, she does. What might Paul lose? He's definitely going to lose physical things, and he's going to be addicted to a drug. But he has other things that he's going to lose. He's going to lose his autonomy. What is he afraid to admit? That he's addicted for one, but that she's is in control of what's going on with him. And what is the reader afraid will happen? Because the reader has to be engaged, involved, and engaged. All right, so let's talk about Carl. So Carl's conflict at some point, now I told you earlier, Carl has the house. He wants to take it to Paradise Falls. That's his dream. That's his last wish, basically. And he inadvertently picks up a kid who's also broken. We're pretty sure that his mom and dad have been divorced. This kid just wants somebody to pay attention to him. So that's the setup. The immediate one is that they've gotten almost to Paradise Falls. They've gotten almost where they're going to with all the different conflicts and all the different tension that's going along with that. We're just picking this one scene. So they get to where they're almost to where they're going. They find the bird, Kevin, the bird, which is female, by the way, in case you just didn't know. This is one of my favorite movies, by the way. He gets them there, and they meet a man by the name of Muntz, who was Carl's mentor, basically, the adventurer that got to go do things, the ones that he and Ellie talked about. And they find out that he's there in that place, and he is looking for Kevin, and he will kill Kevin. He wants Kevin to. Kevin has babies, by the way. I guess you didn't know. And he's just completely out of his mind. So that's the setup. So the offer is that, and this one is a little more subtle, but not quite so huge. I mean, still there's people in danger. You know, Kevin and Russell and all of them are in danger because Muntz is completely crazy. But Kevin is captured, and Russell comes to Carl and says, we need to go rescue Kevin away from Muntz. And Carl says no. His conflict is that he can't achieve his goal, get the house to Paradise Falls, if he diverts himself, if he goes a different direction and goes and helps. And plus the fact he's afraid. I mean, can you imagine having a gun pointed at you? So I hope that's never happened to you. It hasn't happened to me, luckily. So we look at what it is that Carl is going to do. So Muntz has kidnapped Kevin. Russell is going to go save him. Carl has to choose between his dream and his and helping the child, the boy. So he can stay with the house or save Russell. That's his offer. The hesitation is he's lived his life for years wanting, I mean, Ellie is everything to him. And this is a huge character arc for him. What's he going to do? The choice is finally made. And luckily, he does go after Kevin and Russell. And in the aftermath is that eventually he does save Russell and Kevin. But the idea, and a dog called Doug, it's a just a real simple setup, offer, hesitation, choice, aftermath that builds the tension. So how do you apply this to your scenes? Well, first off, name the conflict. Figure out where you're going to be in the story. Which scene do you want to take? Find the conflict that you want that character to have for that particular place. We're not changing the conflict necessarily. Not that you can't. You can change conflict anytime you want to. But name the conflict that you're going to be dealing with in that particular place. Identify that immediate want. For Carl, it's whether or not he's going to take the house on and leave Russell, or whether he's going to go save him. For Paul and Misery, it's, am I going to take the pill? Do I need the pill for the pain, or do I need to stay sober enough, awake and aware enough that I can get away? Well, he can't get away because he's so hurt. Number 3 is identify that immediate risk. What is it that that character is going to have as a risk? Make it very, very clear for your reader. 4 is to track the beats. We have the offer, the hesitation, the choice, the consequence, and we hit those slowly. Don't be in a hurry. Yes, it can be something where everything is going around, but adventures and action is not necessarily about the physical. It can be about your scene with your character making these kind of decisions. And then ask where the pressure rises. Where does the air tighten? Where does the silence stretch? And they're very, very, very good at this in movies. They stretch those times out as far as they possibly can before they give you answers. So remember that tension is really emotional gravity. Characters don't change because the plot demands it. They change because the emotional pressure becomes unbearable. And in this case, Paul becomes sharper and more cunning, and he survives. Oh, this gave away the movie. Carl becomes softer and braver and willing to go on with his life instead of just basically he was going off to die. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that gives you some ideas about how you can build tension and some little pieces and parts that you can look at. This video will be up for free with the wits for 2 weeks. That will make it come to on middle July. And then it'll be posted on Lisa, I'm so sorry, Lisa Norman's school, no stress writing. I'm sorry, I'm having a terrible time with that part. And you can always contact me through my email address, which is attached to the blog. Thank you for listening.